Hey everybody, I know it's been a while, but I haven't forgotten about no creeps. Today we got 1.3.0, the Interchange update, so let's just jump in there and take a look at all the new maps we got. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the randomized ones first. So this one's called Tangle, and you have a small area in the middle here to build around your driller. There's not too many build opportunities in here, so you'll have to make use of these tangled up octopus looking things in the corners. And as I randomize the map, you'll notice that these tangles are coming in on different angles as well as different configurations, and the section in the middle is also randomizing up a bit. But yeah, Tangle! Now let's move on to Clamp. So this is heavily inspired by Flipbook, and you can see as I'm changing the maps around here, the bridges over top are changing, large areas in the middle are being randomized, as well as all the spawn points and driller locations. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the handcrafted stuff, and this one's pretty crazy. This one's called Crosswire. So you have this circular area that both the creeps and your driller are feeding into, but you'll need to make use of this huge mess of teleporters that are crisscrossing between them in order to keep the creeps on the map as long as you can. This one's a little hard to wrap your head around, I find. But yeah, with a good layout, you can utilize most of these outer platforms and keep the creeps pretty busy. Alright, so the next one we're looking at here is called Spillway, and it is kind of just an interesting looking asymmetrical map. Trying to figure out the best way to route the creeps in and around all this stuff is kind of tricky. You see that the creeps are coming up through the middle of the map here, but you do have a lot of opportunities to switch the creeps back over and over the same areas. Got a couple of Gleep containers at the top here, give you a little bit of a boost. I feel that this is a pretty straightforward map, not super difficult, so it'll land kind of in the middle of the list. Okay, so the next one we got is called Adrift, and it's kind of like a hedge maze, or rather 3 big hedge mazes, and I have creeps on opposite ends that need to pass through each other, so you'll need to make good use of the maze in hopes of trying to pinch them into a choke point. There isn't a heck of a lot of build opportunities in the mid-sections, but you do have these large bumper spaces on the sides. But you'll notice that there's a lot of bonus tiles around here, so that's free damage, so trying to route the creeps to these areas is pretty important here. Very kind of messy, disorganized map, so you'll have to make do with some of the limited shapes here. Alright, so the next one we got here is called Cradle, and it has 2 independent mazes where you got creeps coming along these side platforms before they move on to the driller, and there's an identical one on the other side. You're able to route them down into these mid areas here where you can see that there's quite a lot of booster tiles, so a nice little kill box area. Kill. Brian, I am trying to give a demonstration here. Just do your thing, man. Just pretend I'm not even here. Sheesh. Okay, so now let's take a look at the last map. Interchange, just like the update. This is probably the coolest map I've made, I think. It's pretty difficult, but man, it just looks really cool to look at. I actually had to watch like a little video and look at a diagram for how these giant cloverleaf intersections actually function, and all these little roads and stuff and their directions are pretty accurate to how these intersections actually work in the real. I mean, I've driven on them many times before, but I never really took notice of exactly how they work, so it is a pretty neat looking map. So we have creeps coming from these 2 side areas, and they want to try to get down into these lower sections here. There's a lot of roamers on this map, so it just looks like there's traffic everywhere. You know, rush hour, Friday nights, just absolute chaos. If anybody's ever driven on one of these, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so that is all I have for 1.3.0, the Interchange updates. There were 7 maps in this update, bringing the total up to 75, which is pretty crazy. That's a lot of maps. There were a few little bug fixes and tweaks in this update, but nothing major. You can check that out on the patch notes. But yeah, 7 new maps. I hope you all enjoy them very much, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.